So what cracked me up was the fact that Gary Oldman has played two of the most pivotal World War II statesmen ever.
Yeah.
Harry Truman and Winston Churchill. Thought to myself the moment I saw him as Truman, I was like, son of a bitch, this guy, he's like the ultimate World War II warmonger at this point.
He may be retiring soon.
Oh, really? Well, he can't retire before he plays Hitler. Because if he plays Hitler, then he's got the World War II trifecta.
He can play the soldiers. We can CG. We can make it happen. He's everyone.
Yeah, he's got the hat trick at that point. You know what I mean? The World War II hat trick.
Even the fucking tank turrets has his face on it, like snarling at people.
Exactly.
In a world of bad movies, two follically challenged men will stop at nothing to share their opinions of them. Their wives are tired of listening. But are you? This isn't the podcast you deserve, but it's the one you need. Prepare yourself for Bald Guys and Bad Movies.
Welcome to Bald Guys and Bad Movies, episode 60. I am Troy.
Troy, cut it out!
Here with my buddy,
Mike Stella.
Mike Stella, the fella. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. It's a little warm over here. How's your temperature? What's the temperature?
It's a little warm. You chastised me for having my fan on last time.
Yeah,
so
I turned my fans off, so I am sacrificing.
But they can't hear this shit. Turn your fan on, dude. You'll be fine.
No,
you'll be fine.
In the early days, I've left it on, and it just sounded like just this constant undercurrent of sound. It bugged me.
Yeah, but you can hear it because you're listening out to it on those beautiful headphones. You know what I mean? Like, normal people can't hear that shit.
It's okay.
Like,
I'll suffer for our program. You don't have to suffer.
I'm suffering a little.
I'll sweat for it. So in the historic standoff, Barbenheimer, that's what they call it, right? You chose a side. What side did you choose, Mike?
I chose,
you chose the movie we're going to review this week.
Yeah, I chose Oppenheimer, but I did not choose Oppenheimer because I didn't want to choose sides. The goal, what I actually wanted to do was go to Oppenheimer Friday night. Like, you know, I go see movies on Friday night around 7 or so usually. What we were going to do was, because Noah didn't want to see it, or Barbie, I was going to drop him off at my parents' house, let him have a sleepover, go see Oppenheimer, wake up the next morning, go see Barbie at like 11 o'clock, and then my mom was going to drop him off at his stage combat class that he has at 1:30, and then I was going to pick him up from there.
Wait, did you say stage combat?
Yeah, stage combat. How to fight on like fake fighting, you know, like when you grab someone's hair, you like put your hand on their head, right? And then they grab it, and then they whip themselves around.
If only you could see. My God damn it. Why can't we have a video? Like, Mike has both his hands behind his head, thrusting about as if someone's performing something below screen. Wait, there's a beverage. What's in that glass there, Mike?
This is
got a little salt on the rim. Is that
pre-made margarita with a little bit of pre-made mango margarita. Like the mango margarita stuff they sell is so sweet, like you can't drink it straight. And so we'll usually do like mostly regular margarita and then a little bit of mango, and then I throw a little extra tequila on top because they're never strong enough. Well, it's not that they're not strong enough; they're too sweet. And in order to cut the sweetness, you got to throw a little bit of extra tequila. So
is it safe to say the intelligent bits of this review coming from you probably going to be front loaded?
Intelligent bits?
Yeah. You articulating intelligent thought. By the end, that glass is going to be empty.
Well,
and so too will be your brain.
Well, let's be realistic. This is number 3.
Okay. There we go.
So,
well, it checks out.
Well, I don't know if there's going to be any articulation of intelligent thought.
Okay. So, Mike, what are we reviewing this week, Mike?
This week, we are reviewing half of the Barbenheimer experience, Oppenheimer.
We're in a race against the Nazis. And I know what it means if the Nazis have a bomb. Why? How about because this is the most important thing to ever happen in the history of the world?
Are we saying there's a chance that when we push that button, we destroy the world?
Chances are near zero.
Near zero.
What do you want from theory alone?
Zero would be nice.
Our work here will ensure a peace mankind has never seen. Until somebody builds a bigger one.
Oppenheimer, directed by the wonderful Christopher Nolan. I'll summarize this. Oppenheimer is a 2023 biographical thriller written and directed by Christopher Nolan based on the 2005 biography American Prometheus, which I now want to read.
Me too.
By Kyle Bird and Martin J. Sherwin. The film chronicles the life of J. Robert Oppenheimer, a theoretical physicist who was pivotal in developing the first nuclear weapons as part of the Manhattan Project, and thereby ushering in the atomic age. Cillian Murphy stars as Oppenheimer, along with a whole bunch of other people that you can look up.
Yeah, there were so many people in that movie.
Nolan's films, and not to jump too far ahead of myself, but I will say Oppenheimer included, are like little puzzles. They're like little Rubik's cubes of scenes and moments.
They are.
And
I left the movie, and the first thing I thought to myself is, fuck, I want to see that again.
Yeah, just to kind of reconfirm your memory of what, because scenes happen in the beginning that it made me think of The Prestige. I love Prestige.
That movie's great.
And that, at the very end, had you re-look at events in the movie in a whole different light. And it was a holy shit moment. And this one, I mean, a much lower scale with the Albert Einstein when you first see him.
Right.
And you're led to believe one thing. But anyway.
I love how, Han Solo asked him, he was like...
Aldrin, what's his name? Go ahead.
Aldrin, Emmerich Aldrin or something? Mr. Alderon? I don't know.
It's not worth interrupting your thought. Go for it.
So, I like it. He's like, well, maybe he wasn't talking about you at all. Maybe he was talking about something a lot more important
than you.
Than you.
Right.
I finished watching the movie and I was thinking to myself, like, shit, this should have been called Strauss.
Because Strauss is a big part of it.
I think it might be Christopher Nolan's best film he's ever made.
Really?
I really do.
Better than Inception.
And I'll tell you why. Because it doesn't have a gimmick.
Yeah.
There's no gimmick. Every other movie that Nolan has made, besides Dunkirk, has a gimmick. Whether it's a superhero movie, whether it's dreams within dreams, whether it's, oh my God, he has a twin. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they all have a gimmick. Even Dunkirk kind of plays with the time situation. Like, you don't really know what time stuff is happening, like where it is exactly within the timeline. This had, the gimmick was, oh my God, he actually doesn't like Oppenheimer. You know what I mean? Like, that was the gimmick.
Closest you get to a.
So I mean, it's just it's a mystery. You know what I mean? It's just a mystery. I was amazed. Andrea really liked it. I kept looking over at her. I was like, oh shit, I wonder if she doesn't like this.
You thought she'd be bored or getting bored?
I thought she'd be kind of bored, but she was all about it. She's like, it was really good. She's like, I want to see it again. Like, she thought the same thing that I did.
So it's a highly recommend from Mike.
Highly recommend. Really enjoyed it. I love history pieces too.
I was going to recommend it, but with the caveat that if you have an interest in that topic, in this man, in that point of history, then yeah, this would be great. If you're going because this is a Christopher Nolan film and you expect what you just said, he doesn't do. Like, yeah. You know what I mean? So go in with the right expectations. It's not.
But it was like, I will say though, in the first 20 minutes, I was thinking to myself, like, is this going to be? Well, because in the first 20 minutes, it was showing him like looking at like picturing
abstract,
like the
very abstract
very abstract sort of ideas kind of coming to his mind and this and that. And I was like, is it going to be like this a whole fucking movie? Because I don't know if this is going to work.
One of those
little highfalutin for Christopher Nolan.
It's probably one of the better, maybe the best biographies, because by the end you get a sense of at least that station of the man's life and a little bit before. But the way it's told in an intriguing. It's almost
intriguing as hell.
My kid Logan saw it. He's been hyped for this since last year. So
how old is Logan? 16?
17.
17. Yeah. Okay, perfect.
So he was like, "Dad, when you see it," because he saw it before I did.
Right.
Like, it feels very JFK. I'm like, okay, all right. When I saw it, I was like, yeah, I could kind of see that. You know what I mean? Like, not just because there's black and white, but there's a feeling of conspiracy, forces conspiring, right?
Yeah.
Under the shadows and not quite knowing who to trust. And the government is just living organism. this beast with tendrils.
Totally.
I found the structure, because if you told it straightforward, it could have worked, but it wouldn't be as compelling.
I thought they did a great job of the black and white versus the color. The black and white, it was sometimes in the future, sometimes in the past, right? But you realize that the black and white was always when it wasn't from Oppenheimer's perspective.
And Nolan has said, use of dual visuals differentiate the film's events from Oppenheimer's perspective to Strauss's point of view.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And that's kind of what I was saying. You know, I know the colored stuff was from Oppenheimer's perspective. I didn't realize that Strauss was the other perspective.
Yeah, you don't really realize until well into the third act how big a role Strauss has had in manipulating a lot of things, which I like.
Shady motherfucker. That's all I'm saying. But I will say, Cillian Murphy, holy shit, he was so good.
Well, he has the real Oppenheimer has these striking blue eyes, right? And Cillian Murphy, not only does he look like him, but more importantly, those fucking eyes.
Yeah.
Because you've probably seen the famous excerpt from a Ford interview, which I've never seen, of him with the quote, "I am now become death."
We knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
No, I've never seen
really?
that.
Okay. If you watch that, it's like, now maybe this is the viewer projecting things into it, but the guy looks haunted.
You fucking think?
Like when he's saying that, he looks like he's fucking haunted. And then later, like after I saw this film, I was just digging up on YouTube with some Oppenheimer interviews, the real guy. And he had a thing where he wouldn't look interviewers in the eye. So I don't know if that was just him, maybe being uncomfortable. But I noticed he was doing it when they were talking about specifically his role, the legacy, and he was talking and looking off to the side. But I mean, it could have been anything, or was it? It's hard to meet the eyes of someone where it's such a heavy legacy.
Someone's asking you about the fact that you created two bombs that killed, what, 120, 140,000 people?
Is that counting the radiation, the delayed
and that's
radiation?
No.
Yeah.
And that's not counting that.
It's not even counting that, so.
That's not even counting the radiation effect. It's not counting the psychological effect, you know? Like, of course he's fucking haunted. It's funny because there was something that, who was it? Truman, played by Gary Oldman.
Get this crybaby out of my office.
Yeah, it was like crybaby. I was like, dude.
So
what a fucking asshole.
I'm going to say critique because it's the closest word I can think of, but it's not really a critique. On one hand, I liked how the film dealt with the aftermath of the bomb and how you heard about it. They talked about it like, oh, the striped shirts were burned into the skins, the patterns. Like, less is more. I get that. And then when he was giving the speech, the "Yay, we're great" speech, the victory speech, and in the midst of it, I like how
you're seeing like the fucking
walls,
people melting,
the tremors. You first just like begins as a tremor, and it was a nice effect. And then as he was walking away, he was stepping through into charred bodies, and
like you see the people like throwing up with like the fucking like shit from like oof.
So
it was rough.
So that was well done, and part of my brain's like, that's enough. But then another part of it though feels like it wasn't enough, because I kind of wanted to see, not for the visceral shock value, but I don't know, man. It felt like a missing piece, because we talked about these cities in this abstract way, and that there was people, whatever. I just wished, part of me wished there was a moment. And not even archival footage, because that's like too easy, maybe, right?
Well, let me stop you right there. I agree with what you're saying. I thought the same thing, but when you think about the formula of that particular film,
it's his perspective.
Two perspectives, right? It was his perspective. It was Strauss' perspective. To do that would have broken that.
Yeah.
And I don't think he should have done that. And the reason why I think what they did was perfect was because it showed what he was thinking about what he did. And that's truly all we could see. It's not all that mattered, right? What mattered was what actually happened.
Yeah, he is the mirror. He is the mirror that reveal through him the impact and the horror.
Exactly. Within the confines of this formula of the movie, this particular film that Christopher Nolan created, we can't see that. It doesn't make any sense to see that, because Strauss never saw it, so we can't see it in black and white. And Oppenheimer never saw it, so we can't see it in color, which is why we saw Oppenheimer fighting with it, which is why we saw him seeing his workers, his people, suffering from those effects that the people of Nagasaki and Hiroshima would be experiencing.
I completely get it, right? And that's why, I teed it up with saying, I'm not saying he should have done it that way. And who the hell am I? I'm a pimple on the ass of a dead donkey. They did a good job with the whole premise of, well, we kind of had to do this to win the war, right? And even though that was gray, that was well represented, right? I guess my fear is someone who doesn't really know much about this. You can leave this film's impression, yeah, it was terrible for people off screen somewhere, but really, what choice do we have? And at that moment, I can see, the justification for doing it. But then beyond the justification, after the war is won and the damage is still going on and on and on and on, through generations of people who've been, traumatized and poisoned by this. That's where the point of view of keeping it just their point of view, which is the truth of the film, right? That's what that's the perspective they pick. I think by doing that, you lose. For me, the scales felt a little imbalanced, because it definitely tips more towards, we kind of had to do it because we don't want Nazis to fucking have it. We don't want the Russians to have it. And it's the moral dilemma, right? And that's why this film's so great.
That's funny you say that, because I didn't really feel that way, to tell you the truth. Like, I did kind of feel we had to do it because the Nazis would do it. Mm-hmm. But that's funny you say that, because it brings me back to one of my favorite lines in the movie, where he's like, we're 18 months behind. We're, in a losing race. Like, we're way behind. We got to figure out how to get ahead. And they get word from some spies in Nazi Germany that say, so they're looking into how to do this. They're thinking about heavy water. And they're like, oh, great. They're like, oh, they're like, what are you so happy about?
Turn.
He took a wrong turn. And then even before that, he was like, the only thing we have going for us, because we're 18 months behind, is anti-Semitism. And he's like, what? He's like, anti-Semitism. He's like, we can hopefully bank on the fact that Hitler is going to look at
was it Heisenberg?
Yeah, Heisenberg. Yeah, he was the German scientist, but he's also a Jew, right? You know what I mean? It's like, hopefully we can bank on the fact that they're going to look at quantum mechanics as a Jewish science. and they're going to disregard
their prejudice will get in the way of reason.
Their prejudice will get in the way of them actually making the progress they need to make in order to accomplish the feat of making a nuclear bomb.
That was a good part.
Yeah, I really like that part. And then right before that part, when he was like, oh, they split the atom. And they're like, what do you mean he split the atom? They're like, oh, yeah, like they said they could do it. He's like, that's impossible. And he's like, oh, really? He's like, oh, well, what did he do? They're like, oh, they bombard it with protons. He's like, I'll be back. Like runs next door. And they're having a whole conversation for a while. And he comes back. He's like all excited. He's like, well, you got to figure this out. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, I just did it. What do you mean you just did it? He's like, it's impossible. He's like, nope, it's not impossible. I just did it. Come check it out.
Yeah.
And he shows him the fact that he did split the atom. There was another part I really loved too. When you first see him in Los Alamos and he's wearing the uniform. And the one guy's like, what the hell are you doing wearing that uniform? He's like, you're not a military man, you're a scientist. He's like, yeah, well, they want us to join, so I just figure I would. He was like, well, tell him to go shit in his hat. Like, going like, you're a fucking scientist. He's like, go wear what you're supposed to wear. And then they next thing they do is they cut to one of the most beautiful shots in the entire film. This super nice sort of just side lit shot of him like grabbing his pipe and putting on his hat. And it was just gorgeous, man. It was just such a beautiful shot. And it was so simple. And I loved it. I loved this film in so many ways.
In a weird way, in all the good ways, it made me think of There Will Be Blood in terms of not just how beautiful it looked, but the score as well. You know, this great piece of Americana history, right?
I could see that.
But with an undertone of darkness and dread and unease. Like Daniel Plainview, you know, mining for oil, right? Between Daniel Day-Lewis's performance. I love this movie, by the way. I know you do. And the score, it makes it feel eerie. It's scored almost like a horror film. I'm not saying Oppenheimer scored like a horror film, but there's these moments, you know, where when they're building, was it Los Alamos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when they're building like where the scientists are going to live, and, you know, visually you're looking at history on the march.
Right.
But the way it's scored, it never steps over into patriotic, you know, flute playing.
And like it shouldn't. And it shouldn't. If it did, it would have not been the powerhouse that it was, because everyone knows, everyone looks back on the fact that ultimately, I don't know if it was actually necessary. Mainly one was because the Nazis were already defeated. The Japanese were never going to accomplish creating a nuclear bomb. They were not even experimenting with that. They were very much already defeated, but in order to conquer them, it was going to take thousands of American lives to push against their beaches and actually conquer their mainland, the island. And so we would have lost a shit ton of men.
I've heard, I don't know if it's misinformation, because you don't know, but I heard or read, I didn't hear it, I read it, that they had actually sent word to the United States that they were ready to surrender before we dropped the bomb, and we did it anyway. So who the fuck knows?
Oh, really? I've never heard that.
Yeah,
I have heard that they were basically beaten, but they were never going to surrender. I heard basically what they said in the movie,
right? That
they were beaten. There was no way they could ever win, but it was still going to cost 50,000 to 100,000.
I'll take
Americans.
the movie's word for it. Christopher Nolan probably wouldn't be creative with that part of history, but who
well,
I mean,
he wasn't beating the drum for anything else. I don't know why he beat the drum for that. You know what I mean?
Can I tell you my favorite? This may have been my favorite moment of the movie, and it happened in the first 10 minutes. Not to say the rest of the movie wasn't amazing. It was, because I love what this moment achieved. And I looked it up, and this actually did happen. When he poisoned his teacher's apple.
Holy fuck.
So when Oppenheimer was a young lad, his teacher was giving him the riot act. He was like unorganized.
What a prick. And that guy was a prick.
Yeah. And then other students
were kind of... He didn't deserve to die.
Yeah, other students kind of mocking him. And they were dismissed. I forget what happened, but he was ordered to stay to clean up or whatever. And one of the students left an apple on the teacher's desk, professor's desk. And then you see Oppenheimer cleaning up. And then he takes a syringe And do you remember what it was? It was a bottle.
Yeah. Basically, he was cleaning up and he was putting the chemicals back in the cabinet and saw that there was potassium cyanide. And he sees it, and you see him staring at the cyanide for a second. Then you see him holding it. And then next thing you see is him injecting the cyanide into the fucking apple.
And then he goes back to his room. It's nighttime, and he's wrestling with this. You could tell, what did I do? What did I do? Then he hurries, and the teacher is there with...
Well, I didn't think it was at night. I thought he woke up in the morning, and he was like, oh, shit, what did I do?
Well, before he woke up...
That's when he ran.
I think that was...
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe I'm misremembering.
Oh, maybe. Who knows?
The point is, he had second thoughts. And he raced, and the teacher was there, and then someone else who was Kenneth Branagh. I forget the character he played, but he was a character later.
Niels Bohr. That's who he was.
And
Niels Bohr.
He picks up the apple, is about to bite it, and apparently takes it and throws it in the garbage. Did he say wormhole or something?
Yeah, he's like, oh, there's a wormhole in there.
I love that because it very beautifully, without really any words at all, there's a danger to this man, right?
Yes.
There's a side of him where he'll flirt with the darkness, not just in the universe, in himself. And I think that was a beautiful way to set up, because I'm thinking, is he a closet psychopath? Like,
yeah, me too.
What the fuck, dude? Right? So the first 10 minutes of the movie, you set up your protagonist as someone who will have the impulse to do something dangerous, have the impulse to do something that may hurt someone. Even though he came across later in the film as almost a tender man.
Yeah.
But also, complete womanizer, right? He wasn't a perfect fellow, but...
Dude, what's her face? Pew, that chick was just naked the whole fucking movie,
Oh, what about the scene where he's being interrogated?
Oh my God.
And then...
I'm not gonna lie, I was a little thrown off by that. I hadn't fully invested in the film yet, and then that happened, and I was like... I don't know, man. It seemed off to me.
Do you think it was needed, Mike? Because
not at all. No.
Because I get visually what he was going for. She's naked on top of him being naked in that room, so he's laying himself bare. But
were there any other moments like that in the film?
No.
Well, there you go. If it's not something that is portrayed throughout the film, I don't feel like it's needed. The same reason that I think we didn't need to see the people in Nagasaki and Hiroshima is the same reason I feel like that scene was totally unnecessary.
Well, it felt like it was there for shock
and that's my whole thing. I feel like you could have totally achieved a way more natural, similar feeling cutting between them having sex.
Yeah.
Emily Blunt, a slow pushing on Emily Blunt looking at the back of Cillian Murphy's head, a slow push in on Cillian Murphy's head, cut to them having sex, cut to the slow push, you know what I mean? Like cutting back between those three scenes without having that scene. That is the one scene that stands out as completely unnecessary.
And it would have been better, more artful.
Because
it's one of the
way more tasteful.
One of the people grilling them, they have ice cube in their glass and they take a drink, and then you cut to a flash of rubbing ice cubes on bodies, something they did. You know what I mean? Like little things like that. You didn't have to have her fucking naked straddling him in the room to hey, this is really uncomfortable for him. It's like,
my problem with that was that they weren't doing it as, hey, this is really uncomfortable for him. They were doing it as, this is really uncomfortable for Emily Blunt's character to hear this.
For both of them.
Which is why it didn't work, right? If they were showing how uncomfortable it was for Cillian Murphy's character, then it might have worked, right?
Yeah, the perspective really wasn't.
Because we were never in her perspective the entire film, but all of a sudden we're supposed to jump into her perspective for this one little moment within the film. That, I'm really happy you brought that up, because that's the one moment in the whole film I feel didn't work at all. I felt like it was a bad decision. I really did.
Did they have a reverse shot from Emily Blunt's perspective of her looking back at her while she's on top of him?
Yes.
They did have that.
She's like staring, like, yeah, Emily Blunt's POV and Pugh's, like, whatever her name is, like, staring into her eyes, like, slowly pushing in while she's fucking grinding on Oppenheimer. It was way too much.
I wouldn't have done it, but you keep that, but lose the other reverse, where it's like just her back, like make it more metaphorical, make it more like, wait, did we just see that? You know what I mean? Like making it more of a flash. He did it in a shot that was like pan.
Long and...
Ceiling in was clove, and then he passed someone's head, and then he was fully nude. That was a weird moment.
I felt like it was unnecessary, and it ripped me out of the story. Yeah. Like violently ripped me out, you know.
What did it make you uncomfortable?
The environment that the story has created, this is not that.
But did
like,
it, it made you uncomfortable, or you just felt, this is stupid, why are you doing this?
It slightly made me uncomfortable.
Because if that's his goal, Emily Blunt was feeling uncomfortable in that moment.
It made me slightly uncomfortable, but more than the uncomfortableness, like, it took me out of the film. And it made me think, like, why are we seeing this? Like, this doesn't make any sense. There were so many people in this movie, dude. It was crazy. We got 2.5 hours in, and they were like, oh, there's a new, like, known actor that we haven't seen through the entire film.
So we got Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr. is probably one of his better roles.
I'm not even talking about them. Like, I'm talking about, like, literally 2.5 hours through the movie, and you see, like, oh, that's, you know,
Casey Affleck shows up, Rami Malek. Oscar-winning Rami Malek.
Jack Quaid shows up like super late in the movie.
Josh Hartnett. I'm very glad to see him again, dude.
He was really good. I was thinking, like, God damn, you old fool! Like, I'm an old motherfucker now.
Well, he didn't look. I mean, he looked older. He looked bulkier, but not fat.
Yeah,
he just used to be just a really skinny guy, and now he just looks like a man. And we mentioned it earlier. It leads you to believe that Einstein and Oppenheimer have some kind of beef, for lack of a better term. And also like how he revealed as Einstein. The wind blows the hat off and reveals that shock of white, iconic hair. I must have been in a theater full of nerds because people were like clapping when he showed up. Like, what? Okay, Einstein fan club in here. All right, it's good. It's good. Good that, he's getting accolades like, if he was Captain America fucking hopping in to save the day. So what'd you think about the atomic bomb blast, the actual testing, how that was handled?
I don't want to say disappointed, but I was a little bit.
It felt a little underwhelming with all the build-up. I mean, he purposely had a whole lot of silence. And I know there's a delay with the sound, but I think he intensified it to a point where
I felt like there was so many shots in the beginning of this sort of him seeing electrons seeing radiation and seeing the way stuff worked, and it being very sort of, I don't know, you used a word earlier, I don't remember what word you used, but it was just like
I thought the cloud itself would be like a character. I thought we would see, as it blooms, almost a beautiful death thing, right? With things
I wanted to see inside.
Yeah.
I wanted to see the protons expanding from one nucleus to the next. The idea that I have in my mind of how a nuclear bomb works, right? So you split one atom, which causes that atom split, and you get 2 or 3 protons out of there, which causes 2 or 3 more atoms to split. I wanted to see that.
Those flashes, I kind of thought were early moments from that moment.
Yeah.
I thought that it was kind of like a little, trail of scenes, a little moments leading up to the big explosion, right?
And for the explosion, all we got was a flash of light on Oppie. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like a white light on Opp. I was sad about it.
Yeah.
I was like, man,
it was a distant mushroom cloud, but I've been more, impressed is the wrong word, but like I felt the power of that moment in other films a lot better. Even fucking Crystal Skull. Like,
yeah.
The power of, you know, take out the fridge.
That being said, the lead up.
The lead up was fantastic.
And everyone knows Christopher Nolan knows how to build suspense. Yeah. Holy shit, did he build up to that shit? He built up to it so well that I didn't even realize I was disappointed about it until the movie was over. You know what I mean? Like, the buildup was so good that I was able to just kind of overlook the fact that the explosion was underwhelming. The explosion itself.
When I knew for sure we were done with the moment, I felt, wow, okay.
That's it?
That's it, huh?
Okay.
Guy smeared some schmutz on his face. Like, when the guy was like, hey, the windshield will protect me. He's like,
I was thinking to myself, this motherfucker's about to be blind. That's what I thought to myself.
Because didn't the guy have a follow-up, like, what's going to protect your face from the shards of glass? Or,
yeah.
Like,
I didn't hear that.
I'm pretty sure he said that. Maybe it was me in certain things.
That's funny you say that, because that takes me back to another issue I have with all Christopher Nolan films. I don't know why he does it, but the man does not know how to balance audio properly. There were times I could not understand the people, and Christopher Nolan loves having the vocal track super low and the effects and music super high. And normally, when I'm at home, I just turn on the subtitles. I literally watch TV with subtitles on because I feel like everything is balanced shitty now.
Yeah.
Because everything's balanced for a theater, right? Where you can have these crashing, huge explosions, and then, you know, everyone talks like this, and it's super quiet.
But you're saying you noticed this in the theater, like when you saw it.
I notice this in the theater now.
Yeah.
Now I notice it in the theater, and especially with Christopher Nolan films, I want to see it again in the theater, but I kind of can't wait to see it at home when I can put on the subtitles and know every single word that is spoken in that film.
Right.
Because there's a, like, I would say probably, 0.5%, maybe 1% of the dialogue, like, I didn't catch. Because I was like, what did he say? I don't know what you know what I mean? And and that's just a byproduct of going to see a Christopher Nolan film. It's a shame.
Yeah.
And it's so annoying to me. And people mumble. It's ridiculous.
Throw your glass against the wall, Mike, and protest. Is the glass empty now?
There's melted ice, so I'm not.
We're at melted ice level, folks. So that's where we're at. Oh, before I forget, and also example of how less is more, and you can have subtle suggestions really quick. Did you notice Florence Pugh's character, when she, quote unquote, committed suicide? Did you catch that there's a frame of gloved hands holding her hands underwater?
I did.
And then the next few shots, the hands weren't there.
Yep.
Which I thought was brilliant. Like, did she really kill herself? Because they found something in her blood. But it was just a weird, she drowned and she had stuff in her system.
Drowned.
But see, like the earlier, not to belabor that scene, but her straddling him in the actual room, you could have had a moment like that, right? If you did it, do it real quick. So it's almost like Fight Club. Like, wait, was that a penis in this shot? Like, what? Maybe not quite that quick, but I thought that was genius.
Does Florence Pugh have a penis?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Without actually coming out and saying she may have been murdered, because they probably can't prove it one way or the other. I thought that was a nice thing, that it's there for the audience to catch it if you caught it. If not, it still works.
I'm a New Deal Democrat. That was something that he said. Didn't he say that at some point?
Did he say that?
Like, do you consider yourself communist? And he's like, no, I'm a New Deal Democrat. And I thought to myself, that's what I am. I'm a New Deal Democrat. I believe that... I'll tell you what I believe, okay? I'm just going to tell you right now. I don't
get
really
ready,
believe...
folks. Mike's going to tell you.
This is my hot take.
All right.
I don't really believe in a minimum wage. You know what I believe in? A maximum wage. I believe that a company should not be able to pay...
put patriotic music underneath this.
A company should not be able to pay its CEO a certain percentage more than its lowest paid worker. So a CEO cannot earn more than, who knows, 1,000 times, okay, So they cannot earn 10 times what their janitors are paid. You cannot earn more than 1,000 times what your janitor is paid. And that includes bonuses. Bonuses are included. And I truly think, so in ancient Rome or ancient Greece, only the wealthiest 300 people had to pay taxes.
Buckle up, folks. We're in ancient times now.
Okay?
Okay.
And
take notes.
Paying taxes was considered a fucking, like, if you had to pay taxes, it was considered like, basically an honor, because you were already making so much fucking money that you had to pay taxes. Like, Jesus Christ, like, the fact that all these corporations pay nothing, and you and I pay more than Amazon. You and I have paid more than Amazon in taxes. Every year we've had to file taxes. Every year, Troy. Every fucking year. How much money do you give to Amazon every month?
It's like Drunk History. The Lost episodes.
I'm just asking you.
What are you asking me?
How much money do you pay Amazon every month?
Pay, you mean in terms of subscriptions and shit, or what?
You pay them for subscriptions, and then, oh, I got my subscription, I'm just gonna buy. Oh, well, Amazon has this. I'll buy this from Amazon.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I mean, the wife's always ordering some shit from there, so
I'm just saying. Man,
there's always an Amazon box showing up at my house.
America is bullshit. America is bullshit.
Is that your campaign slogan after that speech? So is that the capper? America's bullshit.
America is bullshit.
Well, not before seeing Oppenheimer, but since we're talking about Oppenheimer, the walk away that, I was talking to my kid. When I finally saw it, we were able to talk about it. We're
the moral authority on the planet.
Man, we
killed 140,000 people with 2 weapons.
Yeah. We fucking
fuck
suck.
that.
We really do.
We fucking suck, dude.
We suck. We
overthrow like legally elected governments because they won't fucking play ball with us.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yep.
America is dog shit.
Yeah.
We will not last another 100 years because we're dog shit.
If only the regular people would fucking wake up and realize they've been played by big business who owns all the politicians.
Well, that's the
everything
problem.
is just about it's about you follow the money. There's nothing that happens in this country that doesn't lead to a paper trail of money. Someone's getting rich. Even the most horrible fucking thing you think about, you can follow the trail and find someone getting rich from that horrible event.
Getting rich off of fucking mass shootings.
Oh, look, okay.
Saying the same fucking
NRA.
thing.
Yeah, like everything.
This is a lot of sidebars. This is a lot of distraction. Us getting distracted, talking about other things.
Don't worry, I'll cut all this out.
But what it really comes down to is it's not, right? It's all linked to it. Because Oppenheimer really is more of a politically charged film then you might, it's not just about like, oh, cool, he created a nuclear bomb. You know what I mean? That is like a side point to what is actually happening in this film, which is why your son talking about, oh, it's like JFK is very poignant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's right.
Yeah.
It is very JFK.
And I would say, just to tag on that, if you came away with this film thinking, it's like watching Scarface. Maybe this is a bad analogy, but if you really watch Scarface, it is a very anti-gangster movie.
Yeah.
Because nothing fucking good happens to anyone. Even at the height of his success, he's fucking murdering people. And then he slowly destroys himself. Which is, you know, funny that, you know, a lot of rappers emulate Scarface. Even then, back when I was in college, like, you guys do know what happened at the end of Scarface, right? I think you missed the fucking point. And I think if you go see Oppenheimer, you walk away, yeah, atomic science is cool. Oppenheimer's the man. Yeah, go United States. No. You didn't watch the same film everyone else watched or I watched. Yeah, our government fucking sucks, dude. And they tore this man down. They discredited him. You know, granted, it was what you find in the end, it was mainly Strauss who got butt hurt because he embarrassed him in a public hearing. But this is something about a sandwich, or maybe
I didn't even and that's one of the main reasons why I want to see it again, because I didn't really understand like what was going on there. So I know what was going on there. I didn't understand why it was such a big deal. Strauss thought, even though he wasn't that learned, right, that exporting isotopes to other countries was a big deal, and it could lead to other countries having nuclear weapons. Oppenheimer made fun of that. People were like, well, yeah, using isotopes and creating a nuclear weapon. I mean, yeah, but you can also use beer to, a bottle of beer to create a nuclear weapon. And we do. Talking about, people drinking, talking about nuclear science. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I mean, you could use a sandwich to create, nuclear weapons. In fact, that's probably more dangerous than these isotopes.
You do understand that he's a petty man. Like, this is why
Strauss.
Yeah, Strauss. That's why when Han Solo said, "You ever think it wasn't about
I
you?"
love what we're calling.
Let's just say that. Fucking Aldrin and Emmerich, whatever.
Emmerich, right?
Yeah. You ever think that the conversation wasn't about you? Like, maybe you're not the most important man in the room or on the lawn during that day. He's a politician, and he got embarrassed, and he devised this elaborate scheme to discredit this man. Well, you see that
scene 3 times in the movie. You see the time when he's saying that 3 times. And the first time, it's in black and white, and he smiles. At that point, Nolan doesn't want you to know that he's
upset,
taking it
right,
personally, right, and upset. The second time, it's in black and white, and you see him scowl, and you realize, oh, I guess he did take this personally. The third time, I'm pretty sure it's in color, and you see him just like fucking seething.
Yeah. And
that's when you've already kind of realized that he's an asshole.
And this is completely random, but there's like little details, like the fucking potted plant in the room. Mm-hmm. They had to keep moving it. Strauss, I think, was trying to.
It was the centerpiece.
Yeah.
So he could. Yeah.
And then in a later scene, you see someone just take the fucking plant off the table, and the audience like laugh. Like I'm happy I was with a nerdy audience who loved Einstein.
Matt Damon.
Yeah, he was great.
Matt Damon was phenomenal.
Yeah.
He is old as fuck now. That motherfucker is not he is not Jason Bourne anymore.
He's in the Bourne, what's my identity stage of his life.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Exactly.
Wait, how old is Matt Damon? He's not that old, is he?
But he was so good in this. He was probably one of my favorite characters in the whole film. Every time Matt Damon was on screen,
52.
I enjoyed. How old?
52. Huh. All right, well, you want to rate it, Mike?
I will rate this 4.5 scowling, sad Emily Blunt looks staring at the idea of what's her name? What Pugh? What's her first name?
Florence.
Lawrence? Florence Pugh fucking her husband. That's what I'm gonna like. Not her fucking her husband, but the look of Emily Blunt seeing that in her mind's eye while Oppenheimer talks about
that.
4.5 out of 5 of those looks.
That description is as complex as the film itself. Well done. We'll provide cliff notes later. You just scroll down underneath and we'll Rosetta Stone to I would give it 4.5 out of 5 cyanide poison apples.
Oh, that's good.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
So if you would like to support this show, keep us going, keep us rolling along, uploading content, you can support us by going to patreon.com/baldguysbadmovies and donate to the show. We're going to use those funds to make sure we can see any movies that you guys want to see and getting our studio set up so we can start recording video and doing these not just audio but also video on YouTube. And once a month, we will pick a patron to choose a movie for us to review. And we'll review it. We'll dedicate it to you. But either way, we just hope you enjoy the show and keep on coming back. I got bigger boobs than her. Like, let's just say.
Maybe you should have straddled silly. How about a twist?
I might have killed him.
You like,
I might have killed him.
The end of Oppenheimer. Suddenly it's a Tarantino movie where history's rewritten. Big fat man kills the father of the atom.
Oh, shit. That is funny.